Good afternoon everyone. Today, we will talk about an issue na nakakaapekto sa ating lahat. And this is pollution. Pollution is a growing problem that impacts on our environment, health, and quality of life. From air pollution that affects our respiratory health to water pollution that threatens wildlife and ecosystems. The impact of pollution is far-reaching and affects us all. Today, we would like to explore some of the key sources of pollution and discuss what we can do to control it, especially for us civil engineers. First, pollution and pollutants. We will define what pollution and pollutants is and their differences. Next, the types of pollution. Under here is water, air, agricultural, and noise pollution. So, sa types of pollution, sasagutin natin yung mga tanong na saan ba nanggagaling ito or yung mga sources nila. What are the effects of this pollution, especially on human health and environment? And also, we would like to know what do engineers do to fight this type of. Next, the role of civil engineers in controlling the pollution, especially here in Philippines. Diyan, pag-uusapan natin yung mga green buildings in the Philippines. First, let's define what pollution is. Pollution is the mixing of toxics into the environment as a result of human or natural activity. It can come in various forms including air pollution, water, soil pollution, and noise pollution. It comes from the Latin word polluere, means to soil or defile. So, sinabi dito, as a result of human or natural activity. So, yung human activity, these are the industrial water waste, household waste. Another example of this is yung mga usok sa sasakyan. So, yung pala yung mga human activity na nakaka-contribute sa pollution. Yung mga natural activity naman is the wildfires, floods, volcanic eruptions, tsunamis, or earthquakes. So, yung mga natural phenomena pala na yun is nakaka-contribute din sa pollution. Next, let's define what pollutants is. So, we all know that the world is becoming polluted day by day, right? These harmful pollutants are responsible for this problem, which is mainly caused due to human activities. So, pollutants are substances or energy that are introduced into the environment and cause harmful or undesirable effects on living organisms and the natural world. So, sinabi dito, yung pollutants daw are these substances or energy. So, yung mga substances na yun, yung example nun is the household waste, yung mga usok na galing sa mga factories, vehicles. Another example is pesticides and fertilizers. Nakaka-contribute pala yun, especially sa agricultural pollution. So, yung energy naman dito, energy is also a kind of pollutant. So, yung energy, commonly sa noise pollution ito, yun yung tinatawag nating sound energy. So, ano nga ba ang pagkakaiba ng pollution and pollutants? So, in short, pollution is the overall process of how it negatively impacts the environment, while pollutants are the specific substances or forms of energy that cause that impact. Next, let's tackle the types of pollution: the water, air, agricultural, and noise pollution. First, let's talk about the water pollution.
Water pollution. So first, let me define what is water pollution. Water pollution is the contamination of water source by substance which makes the water unusable for drinking, cooking, cleaning, swimming, and other activities. Pollutants like chemical, trash, bacteria, and parasites are one of the main causes why water is being polluted. All forms of pollution eventually make their way to a water. Example na lang, katulad nung sa air pollution, ang mga pollutant, minsan nagsisettle siya sa lakes and ocean. Doon naman sa land pollution, katulad ng mga waste natin, ito ay can seep through underground water or stream and to the river and finally to the ocean. Well, actually, unsafe water kills more people each year than war and all other forms of violence combined. Alam niyo ba na less than 1% lang ang kaya nating i-consume na tubig na nanggagaling sa earth? Tapos, ano nga ba ang mga cause ng water pollution? Una is untreated raw sewage. Due to a lack of sufficient and effective sewage treatment infrastructure, only about 10% of sewage in the Philippines are properly treated. So, makikita naman natin sa labas na yung mga canals natin, napakadumi. Isa to sa mga kanal na hindi nalilinis talaga. Doon naman sa pangalawa, agricultural wastewater. Pollutant from agriculture can include dead plant, manure, dead animal, soil erosion, runoff, and pesticides and fertilizer. Sila nga yung nagpapaganda ng minsan ng mga crops natin, sila rin naman yung nagkakos ng water pollution ng ating bansa. Industrial wastewater. Common industrial pollutant including chromium, cadmium, lead, mercury, and cyanide. Ito yung mga chemical na pinupollute ang ating water. Pang-apat, domestic wastewater. Wastewater from household can contain disease-causing organism or toxic chemicals. Alam naman natin ang mga gamit na tubig is talagang madumi na, kaya kailangan ng baguhin. And non-point source of water pollution can include runoff from the rain and groundwater and from the landfills, as well as solid waste. This type of pollution can contain some of toxic chemical that industrial water contains. Ito yung mga tubig na minsan nakikita natin o nakukuha sa rain or groundwater in other landfill. Tapos, ito katulad na rin sa mga industrial wastewater, ganyan. Yun ay madudumi pa rin pala talaga. So, ano nga bang epekto nito sa atin? Unang-una, pag tayo nakainom ng maduming tubig, may bacteria na parasite na pupunta sa atin, like poorly treated sewage may enter drinking water supplies and cause cholera and diarrhea. Pangalawa, acute toxicity and immediate death due to hazardous chemical, pesticide, and herbicide from industrial farm, homes, and golf course. Ito yung makukuha natin, like immediate death na agad. And pangatlo, mildly ill that can develop stronger toxic symptoms. Sa pangalan pa lang, magkakasakit muna tayo and pwedeng lumala ito. Dahil hazardous chemical in water system can also affect the animal and plant which lives there, and this organism will survive with the chemical in their system, only be eaten by humans. River pollution in a Luzon city's post-risk disaster. Pollution in the river become a critical factor during strong typhoon because this heightened devastating flood and evidence of recent typhoon. Garbage that is not properly disposed often become obstruction that cause clog in the river system. Ito yung napakaduming river na nando sa ating Luzon cities. Ito yung napakadumi na kailangan na natin linisin dahil ito yung nagkokos ng disease nasa malapit dito. How do engineers act to fight or avoid water pollution? Unang-una is desalination. It is the process of removing salt and other mineral from seawater or groundwater to make it suitable for drinking or irrigation. As new technologies are developed, desalination can become an affordable solution for those who live in freshwater scarce regions. Kanyari na lang, kasi diba, pagka tubig, ocean na ganyan, hindi natin to kayang inumin hanggat hindi pa natin to pinoproseso sa tamang process para mainom ito. And agriculture irrigation technology. Civil engineers are currently implementing smart farm technology that prevents communities from depleting their clean water resource by monitoring soil moisture level and using the data that is collected to determine exactly how much water should be allocated to the field, preventing wastewater. And wastewater treatment. The process of removing contaminant from wastewater generated by homes, industrial, or business to make it safe for release into environment or for reuse. Ito yung mga tubig na nagamit na pero nililinis ulit para ma-reuse. PUR water purifying sachet employs a powdered mixture formulated to remove pathogenic microorganism or suspended matter or in contaminated water. Ito na lang yung mga parang nasa single packet na merong powder na nagtatanggal ng mga chemical o organism na pwedeng mag-pollute sa tubig.
Good day, everyone. I am Hans Fernando I. De La Rosa, and now let's talk about the air pollution. So, first, let us define what the air pollution is. So, air pollution is the contamination of the indoor or the outdoor environment by any chemical, physical, or biological agent that modifies the natural characteristics of the atmosphere. So, air pollution refers to the release of pollutants into the air. Pollutants which are detrimental to human health and the planet as a whole. So, according to the World Health Organization, most commonly known as the WHO, each year, air pollution is responsible for nearly 7 million deaths around the globe. 9 out of 10 humans currently breathing the air that exceeds the WHO's guideline limits for pollutants, with those living in low and middle income countries are suffering the most. Now, let's talk about what causes this air pollution. So, household combustion devices, motor vehicles, industrial facilities, and forest fires are the common source of air pollution. So, burning fossil fuels, it releases gases and chemicals into the air, and especially a destructive feedback loop. Air pollution not only contributes to climate change, but is also exacerbated by it. So, climate change also increases the production of allergenic air pollutants, including the mold and the pollen. So, climate change can also contribute and causes air pollution. How? It creates conditions including heat and stagnant air, which increases the risk of unhealthy ozone levels. Ground level ozone, often called a smog, forms in the atmosphere when the gases emitted from smokestacks and tailpipes mix in the air. So, in transportation, it is a big factor why we have air pollution because cars, trucks, and other vehicles emits a range of pollutants into the air, including nitrogen oxides, carbon monoxides, and and particulate matter. So natural sources of air pollution include dust and other particle matter from natural disasters like wildfires and wind erosion, and as well as emission from active volcanoes and wildfires. So we have already talked about the causes of the air pollution. Now, let's move on to the effects of this air pollution. So, respiratory problems, exposure to the air pollution can cause respiratory problems such as asthma, bronchitis, and emphysema, and as well as increase of the lung cancer and even cardiovascular diseases. Long-term exposure to the air pollution has been linked to an increased risk of cardiovascular diseases such as heart attacks and strokes. And also, we have environmental degradation. Air pollution can harm the environment by acidifying soil and water and reducing visibility and damaging crops and forests. So, it the air pollution have also an effect to the climate change because air pollution contributes to the climate change by increasing the amount of the greenhouse gases in the atmosphere, which trap the heat and warm the planet. So, now let's talk about the two most prevalent types of air pollution. We have the smog and the soot. So, let's discuss the smog. Smog came from two words, smoke and fog. It is like a fog that you can see daily, but instead of a literal fog, it is made up of smoke and sometimes referred to as ground level ozone. Occurs when the emission from the combusting fossil fuels react with the sunlight. And now, let's talk about the soot, and also known as particulate matter. It is made up of tiny particles of chemicals, soil, smoke, and dust or allergens in the form of either gas or solids that carried in the air. The sources of the smog and the soot are familiar. Both come from cars and trucks, factories, power plants, incinerators, engines, and generally anything that combusts fossil fuels such as coal, gas, or natural gas. So, here in the Philippines, we have a law, the Philippine Clean Air Act of 1999 or the Republic Act of 8749, also known as the Clean Air Act. It is a comprehensive air quality management policy and program which aims to achieve and maintain healthy air for all Filipinos. The Act mandates the implementation of the Quality Air Action Plan that includes emission limits, monitoring, and control strategies. Experts from LGUs to develop an integrated air quality improvement framework and mandates PAG-ASA, also the DOST, to monitor GHG and the ozone. So, we have already talked about and defined the air pollution, the causes, the effects, and even the law, the Clean Air Act of the Philippines. Now, as a Filipino, how we can help to reduce the air pollution. Here, Wok says, the less gasoline we burn, the better we're doing to reduce the air pollution and harmful effects of the climate change. When we can walk, ride, or even take public transportation, we should go outside and experience nature and try to have a walk in your park and even try to walk if the school is near from your home. And you can also investigate power by providing options. You may be able to request that your electricity be supplied by wind or solar. So now, we, as a future civil engineers, it is a big question for us. How do civil engineers act to fight or avoid the air pollution? The development of clean energy systems. Civil engineers can help to develop and implement clean energy systems such as wind turbines, solar panels, and hydropower plants that produce electricity without emitting pollutants into the air. Design of sustainable transportation systems. Civil engineers can help to design and implement sustainable transportation systems such as mass transit systems and pedestrian friendly urban areas that reduces the emission from cars and trucks. Incorporation of sustainable design principles. Civil engineers can incorporate the sustainable design principles into their projects, such as building green roofs and incorporating green spaces into the urban areas to reduce the impact of the air pollution on the human health and the environment. So that's all for the air pollution. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Mervin Daryl S. Concepcion from BSc 2A, and this is the part of my report for ES 223. Agricultural pollution, biological and abiotic results of farming operations that contaminate or degrade the environment, adjacent ecosystems, harm people, and their economic interests, or both, are referred to as agricultural pollution. Ito po ay ang paggamit po ng excess fertilizers, pesticides, the improper ways of dealing with animals. What causes agricultural pollution? There are four causes agricultural pollution. First is the agricultural residues such as rice straw, wheat straw, rice husk, and maize stover. Ito po yung balat ng palay. Ito po ay dayami ng palay, or parts ng mais na naiiwan pa pagkatapos po ma-harvest. Are a few examples of agricultural residues that typically left in fields and harvested as compost, animal feed, or burning fuel. Fertilizers and pesticides. These are nitrogen-based fertilizers can overburden streams with harmful pollutants and produce powerful greenhouse gases. Ito po ay yung paggamit po ng nitrogen-based fertilizers na meron po silang ammonia, which is very irritable for people and can lead to overnutrient of the soil and water, which could worsen our marine ecosystem. Another cause of agricultural pollution is animal husbandry. The crowding of animals could accumulate methane emissions from manure storage facilities, and ruminants of consuming fibrous foods total roughly 90 million tons annually, or about 16% of the world's annual production. Ang animal husbandry po ay ito po ang improper way po ng pag-alaga po ng animals tulad po dun po sa unang picture. The lighting is okay but the ventilation looks like it's not. And masyado pong overcrowded per segment po ang mga baboy dito, which is not good for our agriculture. The last cause of agricultural pollution that we'll talk about today is excess salts from applied irrigation water. A high salt content in the soil and water will have a negative impact on crop production, deteriorate the land, and contaminate groundwater. Ito po ay mas mahirap lalo na po sa mga crop fields po natin or mga palay fields po natin dahil doon po mas nangangailangan po ang tubig and especially po sa ating marine ecosystem dahil doon po ang mga isda at iba pang ibang species na isda na either kinakain po natin or nakakatulong po sila sa ating food chain. The effects of agricultural pollution. First is the contamination of drinking water sources with harmful chemicals and pollutants such as pesticides and fertilizers. Tulad nga po ng sabi ko kanina, ang pag-overuse ng pesticides and fertilizers ay harmful sa atin since pwede po yan mapunta sa ating iniinom na tubig. Not only din sa atin pero din sa ating marine ecosystem. Another effect is exposure to airborne pollutants, dust from farming operations, which can cause respiratory problems and other health issues. Especially po sa mga kaibigan po natin, mga kasama po natin sa pamilya na may asthma. Ito po ay mahirap po lalo na kung maalikabok po yung area after po mag-harvest po yung mga fields po natin. Another effect is increased risk of foodborne illnesses due to the use of pesticides and other chemicals in agriculture, as well as potential contamination of food crops with fecal matter from livestock. Tulad nga po nung sabi ko sa animal husbandry, ang pag-keep po ng mga animals po sa confined space ay mahirap pong solusyonan dahil lahat po sila ay kailangan po ng place para po magdumi. Pag po kasi confined po sila, ala pong pwede silang area ng pagdudumihan. So, napupunta lang din po sa kanila yun. And pag po na-butcher po sila, may chance po na mapunta po yung fecal matter po na yun sa nakain po natin, which is not good for us. How do civil engineers act to fight agricultural pollution? First is with design and the construction of agricultural runoff treatment facilities. Ito po yung pag-ayos po ng runoff po ng ating water po na galing po sa field para po hindi po siya nahahalo sa ating drinking water. Two is development of water-saving irrigation systems. Tulad nga po nung una, ito po ay nakakatulong po sa pag-iwas po ng pollutants na napupunta po sa ating environment. And three is the monitoring of agricultural runoff. They can help to monitor agricultural runoff to ensure that it meets regulatory standards and does not pose a risk to human health or the environment. Ito po ay yung pag-hire po ng tao or team na para po makapag-monitor ng agricultural runoff po ng isang area po na to para po hindi po sila maka-endanger po sa ating health or sa environment po natin. And that is all for my report. On to the next.
I'm Katie Alde Maano and I'll discuss noise pollution. So what is the difference between sound and noise? Sound and noise are technically the same. They are vibration in the air that we pick up with our ears. Sound is something pleasant to hear, while noise is an unpleasant sound that the human ear tends to avoid. So masasabi natin na all noises are sounds, while not all sounds are noises. Noise pollution. Sa lahat ng pollution, ito yung pinaka hindi na pagtutuunan ng pansin because it is an invisible danger. Meaning, hindi natin ito nakikita, but it is present both on land and under the sea. Noise pollution is considered to be any unwanted or disturbing sound that affects the health and well-being of humans and other organisms. So, masasabi natin na unwanted yung isang sound kapag nag-interfere na to sa mga normal activities natin such as in sleeping and sa conversation, etc. The intensity of sound is measured in decibels, and it was named after the inventor Alexander Graham Bell. The World Health Organization defines noise above 65 decibels as noise pollution. To be precise, noise becomes harmful when it exceeds 75 decibel and is painful above 120 decibel. So there are two types of noise pollution, and these are man-made noise pollution and natural or environmental noise pollution. The first is natural or environmental noise pollution. Ito yung mga noise na nagmumula sa birds, animal, and natural calamities kagaya ng earthquakes, thunderstorms, volcanic eruption, etc., which is most of the time minimal lang. But the major factor responsible for noise pollution is the man-made noise pollution. From the word itself, man-made, meaning ito yung mga noise na mula sa tao or nagmumula sa activities ng tao. For example, traffic, construction, loud music, etc. Causes and sources of noise pollution. There are four sources of noise pollution. These are industrialization, vehicles, events, and construction sites. Sa industrialization, gumagamit tayo ng mga heavy machineries such as generators, mills, and huge exhaust fans. And this machine, yung mga nagpaproduce ng mga unwanted noise. Sa vehicle, for example, sa traffic, maraming vehicles yun bumubusina. And ito yung nagkakos ng noise pollution. Sa event, for example, birthdays, concerts, weddings, hindi may iwasan na mag-video okay or mag-play ng music sa speaker. Pero kapag sobrang lakas na nito and nakakasagabal na siya sa buhay ng ibang tao, naging unwanted noise na siya. Sa construction sites, di may iwasan na kapag gumagawa ng building or bahay, ay magkaroon ng mga noise pollution. Dahil kapag nag-hammer, drilling, or digging, nagpaproduce ito ng mga maiingay na sound. Effects of noise pollution on human health. There are many effects of noise pollution on human health such as hearing loss, hypertension, sleeping disorders, cardiovascular issues, memory, and concentration. First is hearing loss. Kapag constant yung exposure ng human ears sa loud noises, nakaka-damage ito ng eardrums, resulting in loss of hearing. Sa hypertension naman, it is a direct result of noise pollution which is caused due to elevated blood levels for a longer duration. Meaning kapag sobrang tagal na or sobrang lakas ng music, minsan may ibang tao na tumataas yung BP level na nagkakos ng hypertension, sleeping disorders. Noise pollution hampers the sleep cycles leading to irritation and an uncomfortable state of mind. So, minsan di ba kapag sobrang ingay ng paligid natin, nahihirapan tayo matulog, and lack of sleep might result in fatigue and low energy level throughout the day, affecting everyday activities. Next is cardiovascular issues. Health-related problems such as blood pressure level, stress, and cardiovascular diseases might come up in a normal person. So, merong nagsasabi na merong study na nagli-link sa stress na nagmumula sa noise pollution ay nag-i-increase ito ng risk of heart disease and cardiovascular health. Last is memory and concentration. Noise may affect people's ability to focus, which can lead to low performance over time. So, kagaya ko na estudyante, kapag sobrang ingay sa paligid ko, nahihirapan ako mag-focus sa pag-aaral or sa pagre-review. So, hindi lang sa tao may effect ang noise pollution, but also on wildlife. First is noises can cause caterpillars' dorsal vessels or yung heart nila to beat faster. Second is cause bluebirds to have fewer chicks. Third is noise affects the ability of animals to survive. So, yung animal ay gagamit sila ng sound to navigate, find food, attract mates, and avoid predators. And noise pollution makes it difficult for them to accomplish this task, kaya naapektuhan nito yung ability nila to survive. Last is excess noise interferes with the marine mammals' ability to effectively echolate. Yung echolation, yung ginagamit ng mga marine mammals to communicate, navigate, feed, and find mates. And dahil sa excess noise na nagbumula sa ships, oil drills, sonar devices, etc., Naapektuhan nito yung ability nila to echolate. How to reduce noise pollution? There are ways to reduce noise levels inside the home. First is reducing noise from appliances. Items such as air conditioning units, heaters, fans, and other appliances can contribute to overall noise levels in the home. Try turning them off more often or setting a timer so they only switch on at certain time. Second is reducing noise from media devices. Consider the volume and duration of noise from music, televisions, radios, and video games. So dito, sinasabi na kapag naglalaro tayo sa ating mga phones, pwede naman na wala na lang music or sound or pwedeng hinaan para makalas din sa noise pollution. Repair or replace old machinery. Old appliances, vehicles, and other items can be louder than newer models. Consider upgrading or replacing noisy household items. So dito, di ba kapag sobrang tagal na ng isang gamit, nagpo-produce na siya ng sound or naging maingay na kapag ginagamit natin. So, try daw natin i-consider kung kaya na i-upgrade or i-replace na yung mga ganong item sa bahay para maiwasan na din yung noise pollution. Soundproofing. Adding insulation strategically around home can help muffle sounds from other rooms. So, yung soundproofing, ginagamit siya para ma-block yung sound sa room or sa labas ng bahay. Para hindi agad makapasok yung mga sound. Next is create more quiet time. Try to regularly set aside time for quiet activities such as reading, puzzles, or creative hobbies. Ear protection. Kapag hindi na talaga may iwasan yung mga loud noises, kailangan na natin gumamit ng ear protection such as earplugs, ear muffs to reduce its impact. So there are also engineering method of controlling noise. First is noise absorption. Effective method of lessening the echo and noise within a space. At yung may nilalagay silang material sa walls or ceilings to absorb yung sound. Next is sound barrier. Soundproofing to block the sound. Kagaya nga sabi kanina, sa sound barrier, gumagamit sila ng soundproofing sa mga bahay para mag-block yung sound. Isolation. Isolate or enclose the machine or put the worker in a control room. Ito yung ina-isolate mo yung tao mula dun sa machine para yung ingay na nagmumula sa machine ay hindi ma-absorb ng tao. Next is mufflers or silencer. It is a device na ginagamit to reduce noise emitted by the exhaust of an internal combustion engine. And last, equipment maintenance and lubrication. Kapag yung mga machine kasi na sobrang tagal na, minsan nawawala na ng oil kaya nagkakaroon ng kalawang and need na ng lubrication para maiwasan na rin yung mag-produce ito ng mga maiingay na sound. And that's it for my report. Thank you.
My name is Van Luis Arday Digan, and here I am to discuss about the roles of civil engineers in controlling the pollution. Civil engineers plays a crucial role in controlling the pollution by constructing and designing implementations and solutions to avoid harmful impacts of pollutants to the environment and human health. Some specific ways include designing and constructing treatment systems. Civil engineers design and construct treatment systems for wastewater, solid waste, and other types of pollutants to remove harmful substances and reduce the negative impact to the environment. Ang unang role ng civil engineers para sa pagkontrol ng pollution ay ang paggawa ng treatment system. An example of this is ang treatment system sa US, wherein yung tubig or yung wastewater na nakuha nila mula sa mga buildings, specifically sa mga bahay, ay magko-connect sa plumbing system which will direct sa kanilang control pollution system, wherein yung wastewater na na-collect nila is mag-filter at ang solid waste na nakuha nila ay ginagawa ng fertilizer. The next one is developing sustainable infrastructures. Civil engineers design and build sustainable infrastructure such as green buildings, renewable energy systems, and sustainable transportation systems which can reduce the amount of pollutants released into the environment. Familiar naman siguro tayo sa mga electric-powered public vehicles, di ba? An example of this is yung railway trains powered by electrics at yung electric bikes. Ginawa ito ng mga civil engineers para malesen ang greenhouse gases na nakakos ng mga sasakyan na gumagamit ng fuels. The next one is improving air quality. Civil engineers work to improve air quality by designing and constructing air pollution control systems such as scrubbers and filters, and making biking infrastructures in the roads. Ang civil engineers ay nag-i-implement din ng paglalagay ng scrubbers at filters sa isang building or infrastructure. Since hindi pa tayo masyadong familiar sa scrubbers, let me discuss it with you. Ang scrubber ay isang device wherein sinasak niya yung air na malapit sa kanya, tapos kinokompress niya sa loob yung air na nakokollect niya. Finifilter out niya yung carbon dioxide para kapag nirelease niya yung air, fresh na ulit at wala itong carbon dioxide. At ang biking infrastructures naman, or yung usually nakikita natin ang mga gantong type ng road sa Manila. Yung meron siyang main road, tapos sa may tabi, nandun yung bike lane. Nilagay nila to para maiwasan yung paggamit ng motorcycles or private vehicles na gumagamit din ng fuel at nagko-cause din ng greenhouse gases. Next one is remediating contaminated sites. Civil engineers help clean up contaminated sites such as brownfield sites and hazardous waste dumps to reduce the waste and the impacts of pollutants on the environment and human health. Ang mga civil engineers din, bukod sa nagtetest sila ng mga soil, ay naglilinis din sila ng mga ito. Ang brownfield sites ay isa siyang unused building or unused place wherein dati merong building dito and na-demolish ito. Yun yung brownfield sites or yung mga abandoned na buildings na dinemolish tapos di na uli ginamit. Nililinis ito ng mga civil engineers para sa kanilang mga future projects ay magagamit nila ito at hindi ito masayang. Next one is planning for sustainable land use. Civil engineers also play a role in land use planning, helping to minimize the negative impacts of development on the environment and promoting sustainable land use practices. Dito naman sa role na to, sobrang common na nito yung deforestation para makagawa ng buildings, makapagpatayo ng mga laking buildings. As a civil engineer, dapat pinaprevent natin yung excessive deforestation or yung mga pagpuputol ng puno kapag gumagawa tayo ng buildings. We must be responsible dahil kailangan nating ma-minimize yung negative impacts ng development ng mga buildings at mag-promote ng sustainable land use practices. Next is the adaptation of green buildings in the Philippines. Ano nga ba ang green building? Green building, also known as green construction or sustainable building, refers to structures and application systems that are environmentally responsible and resource efficient throughout the building cycle. Yung building cycle mula sa design, planning hanggang sa renovation at demolitions, dapat environmentally friendly ang mga materials at yung mga process na ginagamit natin. Dito sa atin sa Pilipinas, madami din tayong mga green buildings. At sa katunayan, meron isang presidential decree na nagsiserve para dito, which is yung PD 1096 or the Philippine Green Building Code. Ang presidential decree na ito ay isa lang siyang revised law mula sa Republic Act 5461 or entitled An Act to Ordain and Institute a National Building Code of the Philippines. It is used to safeguard life, health, property, and public welfare consistent with the principles of sound environmental management and control. Kaya naman, ang purpose ng code na ito ay para mag-provide ng minimum standard requirements at para ma-regulate ang paggamit ng kanilang location, site, quality ng materials, construction, yung use ng building, occupancy, at ang maintenance. Next naman is the criteria for LEED certification. But first, ano nga ba ang LEED certification? Ang LEED certification ay ang isang standard na kailangan mapasa ng isang building para makonsider siyang isang green building. LEED, which means Leadership in Energy and Environmental Design. Ito. Now, let's proceed sa criteria ng LEED certification. First is the location and transportation. People should be able to get comfortably in and out of the site using mainly public transportation. Kailangan accessible siya sa public transportation para ang mga taong pumupunta sa building na ito ay hindi na kailangan gumamit pa ng private vehicles na nag-burn ng fuels which causes greenhouse gases, kung pwede naman silang sumakay sa public transportations. Next one is sustainable sites. Making the natural resources and ecosystems of the site part of the construction designed to minimize environmental pollution. Dito naman, gumagamit sila ng mga reuse na mga gamit para mag-construct ng kanilang infrastructures at yung, kung mapapansin natin sa ibang mga green buildings sa Manila, ginagamit nila yung trees or yung mga plants as design and para magkaroon din ng magandang ecosystem ang building na ito. The next one is water efficiency. The building must be able to reduce potable water or use it sparingly. Siyempre, kahit saan naman, kailangan talaga nating i-reuse at its extent yung ating mga potable water or at least ang mga buildings ay nire-require para maging isang green building na ang tubig na kanilang ginagamit ay need nilang ma-minimize ang usage nito. Next one is energy and atmosphere. The building must be able to ensure a quality environment and indoor air. Gaya ng discuss ko kanina, some buildings are made na ang kanilang surroundings ay filled with trees and plants para ang air na pumapasok at lumalabas dito ay fresh. Next one is materials and resources. Sustainable and earth-friendly products are used even as waste is reduced. Dito naman, yung mga ginagamit nilang products or materials para sa pag-construct ng building ay recycled. An example of this is the green concrete or isa siyang concrete made sa recycled materials such as clay, sawdust or yung yung wood na para siyang binrind na kalat lang. Next is indoor environmental quality. Using daylight more and promoting natural ventilation. Usually, nakikita natin sa mga malaking buildings, gumagamit sila ng malalaking glass windows para di nila kailangan ng excessive artificial lighting which causes light pollution. And that concludes our report. We hope that you learned something for our discussion. Thank you.